Hello, and welcome to Wild West Hack and Fest's resume writing and mock interviews. Thank you for you guys who are here in person. Thank you to everyone who's tuning in on the live stream. If you're virtual, hopefully you found the link to this in Discord. If not, then
or elsewhere.
I don't know who I'm talking to.
YouTube, LinkedIn.
We're on YouTube, LinkedIn, both mine and Kip's. And some of you guys know us. I'm Josh Mason. I started out my grown-up career as a pilot in the United States Air Force. And then about 6 years ago, I switched into cyber warfare, still in the Air Force. Helped run the Special Operations Communications Squadron at Hurlburt Field, Florida, and worked a lot with the A6, the communication and cyber arm of Air Force Special Operations Command. I was interested in teaching and got the opportunity to pivot into teaching at the Air Force Special Operations School, where I did not teach cyber. actually. I taught Introduction to Special Operations and Special Operations Forces Air Command and Control, which is a lot of fun, but might bore the heck out of you guys. I got out of the Air Force at the end of 2019, and I had no idea what I was going to do. I knew I wasn't going to fly for some medical stuff, and otherwise I really had no clue. I reached out to some services who could help, veteran coding groups and veteran cybersecurity groups, connected with some folks like Stefan Summeroth, and got pointed in some great directions, took some advice on what to do with my LinkedIn and my resumes. I got some resume templates. It's the same one I share. It's the same one I still use. And that helped me get my first job, which was teaching cybersecurity at the Defense Cybercrime Center's Cyber Training Academy, where I took what I had been trained in the Air Force for digital forensics and the blue teaming and pen testing, the red teaming, and a lot of the GRC, which is actually what a cyber warfare officer usually does, is a lot of the controls and policy and how are we getting the people who know how to do things to do the things that they need to do. So my specialty was more in leading and organization. So when I got out, I started teaching digital forensics and pen testing to new folks to the military as a contractor. Did that for about 2 years, and then got the opportunity through some LinkedIn connections and through a lot of what I was doing on social media to Neil Bridges, who was the chief of content at INE. They have the eLearn security training and certifications. And I had connected with him, had put it in his mind that I wanted to be part of rewriting the entry-level pen testing cert and courseware. And then there was an opening and got my way in there through a connection. Philip Wiley was there, and he was leaving to go on to new stuff. And he actually sent me a message on LinkedIn of like, hey, this job is dropping today. You need to apply right now. Once I got the job, I found out that both of my bosses, Neil and Jack, who are part of cyber and security where I'm streaming right now, really wanted me in the job even before the job was open. I pivoted that to pulling in Alexi Ahmed, who's commonly known as Hackersploit on YouTube and Twitter. He's been running his own pen testing organization for almost a decade and streaming, or at least putting out YouTube videos for almost a decade. Pulled him in, and together we've been rebuilding INE's pen testing student, and then the eLearn Security Junior Pen Testing version 2, which I think drops next month. Also through connections, I am now a sales engineer for SimSpace, and I'd love to talk about that later because I could go on and on because I'm a sales engineer for SimSpace, and that's my job, is to be able to talk about it for a long time. But a lot of my background comes from the things that I'm going to share today. And then Kip is going to, on top of that, share from the hiring manager and as someone who's been in the field for quite a while. So Kip, if you want to introduce yourself.
Thanks, appreciate it. Kip Boyle, and Josh doesn't really know too much about me yet because we recently met and started our collaboration, all right?
Yep.
So what he doesn't know is that his background and my background are very, very similar, except I did the kind of stuff that he did before he did it. So I started in the Air Force as a pilot, and then I transitioned over into working in weapons systems development projects that were all classified. And so I had to learn how to handle classified data. And that's how I got into cybersecurity. This was back before that term was really used. So I worked on the Combat Archer program, which is air-to-air weapons testing at Tyndall Air Force Base, which is just down the coast from where you were at Herbert Field next to Eglin. And then I worked on the F-22 Advanced Tactical Fighter at Wright-Patterson. And so that's kind of where I cut my teeth originally on information security, computer security, network security. From there, I went to work at Stanford Research for a while, and then I became Chief Information Security Officer for an insurance company. And for the last 7 years, I've been running my own company called Cyber Risk Opportunities, where I am a virtual Chief Information Security Officer, and I've got a team of people who work for me. And so we've got a pretty diverse book of business. We've got a lot of customers who are not highly regulated. So we've got some people in the financial services space, but most of our customers are actually in manufacturing, agriculture, sports and entertainment. So these are organizations that realize that they have real issues with cybersecurity, but they don't have a set of regulators telling them what to do, right? So they don't know how to organize themselves, right? They have unlimited risks coming at them, limited budget, and they struggle to figure out, how do I allocate that? And that's a big problem that they have that we solve for them. I have 2 podcasts that I co-host. One of them is called the Cyber Risk Management Podcast, and our target audience is senior decision makers who have to figure out what to do with their cyber risk. So that could be a CTO or a CFO. We sell a lot to CFOs. That's our target customer, a CFO who has responsibility for cyber. But the other podcast I think is more important and more appropriate for this audience is called Your Cyber Path. And that is all about what we're doing here, which is, how do you get into cybersecurity and how do you grow your career? That's what we focus on. And so what I'm going to be sharing with you today is excerpts of a course that we teach people who really want to hit it hard. Like they're, people who are like, I'm done messing around. I want to get my cybersecurity job as soon as possible. And I'm really going to lean into this. Right now, people who aren't ready to do that, or just feel like they want to do it themselves and they don't need that much help, that's what the podcast is for. So a lot of the information that I'm going to share with you today is either comes out of, I've taken it out of our course and I'm going to share it with you freely, or there's a lot of free information in our podcast. And sometimes I'll refer to very specific podcast episodes that you can go to. And every podcast episode we publish, there's an audio version, a video version, and we have a full transcript available on our website. So however you like to consume content, there's an option for you.
Perfect.
Hey, welcome.
Sorry.
You're good. Welcome.
No, you missed the boring part.
Yeah.
So sorry.
I want to say it now for you guys who want to send things to me, or for anyone who's watching. We're also streaming out on both of our LinkedIn's, both of our YouTubes, and I think I'm also on my Twitch. Because this isn't part of Wild West Hacking Fest virtual, but we wanted to make sure that anyone who wasn't here could still participate.
And you can see that you are not on the stream.
Yeah, it's not showing you.
Wondering.
Pointing just at us. So if you want your resume included, some of you have sent yours to me already. Send it to resumes@noobvillage, noobvillage.org, and I can grab it and we will share them and we'll go through them when we get to that part. Now that we've introduced ourselves, there's a few things that I like to talk about when talking about, resumes and getting a job. I see each of us as a product. When a company puts out a job description for a role, it's like they're shopping. They're shopping and they're not going to the grocery store. Sometimes they might be going to LinkedIn, but they're looking for us to reach out and give them stuff. There is another way. It's the way that I like to get jobs. It's what I've done so far, is you sell yourself to a company, and it's a lot like Nike. Do you know that you need shoes right now? No, but if I brand it correctly, if I make it something that you want, if I throw enough advertisements at you wherever you are, TV or social media or websites that you go to, if I throw that at you, then you might want a new pair of shoes. And when you think of something like Nike, I can't think of a time where I didn't know about shoes and Nike. I'm kind of young, but still, it's a brand that's been around for a long time, and it means a certain thing to me. And while I don't own a pair of Nikes, if I was thinking about a pair of shoes, it might be one that I look at. Similarly, there are brands of shoes out there that I've never heard of, that I know nothing about, and I might come across them on Amazon, or if I go to We have shoe stores that people go to anymore? Walmart. If I go to one of those, I might see a brand that I've never heard of before. And I probably don't know anything about it other than what I see right there. Or if I then look up information on it, I might get some information. Amazon, I scroll down to customer reviews. Oh, people like these. Other than that, what value does that brand have? You being a product, I want to be more like Nike than be that 4.5 star rated one on Amazon that someone comes across because they just happen to be looking for a pair of shoes. Does that make sense? So that's my way of looking at all of this. And we do that through our resume, which we'll talk about. Your resume is one of the easiest ways, because everyone's going to ask for a resume, of saying in a very concise way what you are, what value you're going to provide. They want a product that they're going to have in their company for a while. They're going to spend a lot of money. It's anywhere between like 30 grand and 250 grand, maybe, in cybersecurity. Like, it can run the whole gamut. It's not small beans. Like, they're going to spend a lot of money on you for hopefully at least a year. In their mind, hopefully like 5 to 10 years. And they want to know that they're going to get a good investment, that they're going to be able to, on the other end, see some ROI off of the investment in you. So they're going to take due diligence and make sure that they're spending time getting a good product that will stick around and will provide. In your resume, you need to show that you are what they're looking for and that you will provide over time. Some other ways, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. Some people like Twitter, especially in the security space. There's free opportunities for you to get in front of people who are looking for your skills. I've made a presence on LinkedIn through sharing free resources and veteran resources. And truth be told, I keep saying the same stuff over and over again, and I have for like 2 years, and people like it. And it's the sort of thing that I've added in a little bit of like hard skills over time when I knew them. And it got people interested in actually hiring me to do stuff. It took a little bit of work, but it's not that much. I can write a few hundred words like a couple times a week. You can too. And it doesn't need to be about much. In my background, did I tell you about my like decade of pen testing or of doing digital forensics? No. I know some things. The things I really know are the free resources that I used and the free resources that are available for other people. And some of the expertise that I've gained in like teaching over and over and over again, 40 hours a week for 2 years. And the soft skills. If you can brand yourself in that way through whatever your medium is, it could be Medium, the like website where you make posts about your soft skills and the hard skills that you're learning. Some of you I know are learning. You're new to cybersecurity, but most of you are closer to my age than my kids' age. And you have experience with a lot of life's things. You do have hard skills. You got to figure out where do your hard skills and your soft skills relate to the job you and role you want in cybersecurity. And is there a way that you can help other people who are following behind you, who are similar to you, in understanding those things? Take a chance and just make some posts. And you are free to tag me in any posts. And if I don't like it, then we'll chat. But worst case scenario, we get to chat. But truth be told, I'm probably gonna like it and comment and share it, and that'll be the first thing. We can get you to present a brand. That's a little thing I can do. Projects. If you want to be a pen tester and you're on Try Hack Me or Hack the Box, or you've made your own labs, you're downloading VMs from VulnHub and running them on your machine because you've got like enough RAM that you can run a couple things yourself. What are you learning? What are you doing? Can you post about that? I'll tell you, we're at Wild West Hacking Fest brought to you by Black Hills Information Security. One of my interns at Cyber Supply Drop, his role at Cyber Supply Drop was to share free resources and blog. And so he hit Try Hack Me, and he hit the anti-siphon training that was free because he was a truck driver in New Zealand. And he posted like every single day. And do you know who SOC he works for now? Which I had no part in like connecting him. He now works for Black Hills out of New Zealand as a SOC analyst. It's his first cybersecurity job, other than as my intern blogging about his experience of getting into cybersecurity. He just did it every single day, and posted about his projects. So that's my sense. Kip, as a hiring manager, what's your take on branding and kind of finding people?
Mm-hmm. So I like your perspective as somebody who has had some success marketing yourself or selling yourself to a hiring manager, right? And this whole idea of brand, I think, makes a ton of sense. What I want to do now is I want to share with you what's the hiring manager's point of view. So in my podcast and in the course that I teach, my vision for the people who would like to get my help is that you will show up and be irresistible to a hiring manager. All right. A hiring manager will experience you in a way that they will say to themselves, I must put this person on my team. I must have this person on my team. All right. That's the bar for you. All right. When you think about where's the bar here, right? That's the bar that I want you to shoot for. It may be much higher than the way you're currently thinking about it, but I think you can hit that bar. All right. Now, I really like the focus on the brand because I think that what you need to do is sell yourself to me. All right. The thing that people struggle with, I believe, is that word sell, right? Because you're in cybersecurity not because you wanted to sell, right? If you wanted to sell, you would have a sales job or, you would work in it. But I have to tell you that really, this is the situation that you're in. You have to sell yourself. Why? Because I have an endless field of people I could choose. All right. And I'm doing my best to identify them. But the more you brand yourself, the more distinct you become to me in my field of vision, and you are going to pop out, right? You're going to pop out of that massive field of candidates, and you're going to catch my eye. And that's part of selling yourself. Now, when I say sell, I don't mean in the sleazy, nasty, coffees for closers kind of way. All right?
That sells too, though.
Not for what I want. I want you, okay, and here, this might help you because this helped me. My mentor taught me this. I don't want you to be a sales professional. I want you to be a professional who sells. All right? And let me tell you what a professional who sells does. A professional who sells serves. You serve, right? Servant leadership. You figure out what these people need and you deliver it and they buy it from you. And you are not scamming anybody. You're not bait and switching anybody. You're not taking advantage of anybody. You're just serving them. All right? And this is how I would like you to think about what it is that you need to do in order to get the job of your dreams, because that's what I want for you. I want you to get the job of your dreams, the job that is going to absolutely send you over the moon. You're going to be so happy you got that job. And I'm sure that you have a vision for what that looks like right now. And if you don't, I want you to get one. All right? So what does a hiring manager want from you? They want really two things more than anything else. You ready? They want to know that you can be useful on day one when you join their team. That doesn't mean you're hitting home runs or grand slams or whatever, but that when you show up, that you're going to show up with this attitude of how can I help? All right? And over time, you're going to get better and you're going to get better. You're going to have a growth mindset and you're going to be more useful and more useful and more useful. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to see that you have a passion for this job. And that's absolutely crucial because if you don't have passion for this job, you're probably not going to make it over the long haul. Things change too much. The job can get too demanding at times. And people who don't have passion for it can get burnt out fast or just frustrated. All right. So those are the two things. Now, different hiring managers can look for other things. All right. But I'm just telling you that if you can show up and convince them that you can be useful on day one and that you're passionate, and the passion goes back to some of the things, that Jason was saying, right? Which is like, do you have projects that you're working on that you can show as a demonstration of your commitment? All right. So there's ways that you can do this, and so your resume has to speak for you. It has to do this. It has to tell me you can be useful on day one and you have passion. That's what your resume has to do. And then when you get into an interview, you have to do that in the interview as well. And then when you get hired, you've got to hit the ground with that attitude as well. All right. So that has to be part of your brand. It has to be part of who you are every time you show up to me. And another thing I want to say about resumes is I have seen some really awful resumes. I would say most resumes are awful. It's just to some degree or another. Some are slightly awful, some are god awful. But this is the way I want you to think about your resume. Your resume is your first work product for me. If you want to work for me and you give me a resume that you want me to look at and it's awful, what do you think I'm going to think about your ability to produce high quality work product on time for me so that we can serve who we exist to serve? All right, does that help? Because when hiring managers are screening resumes, right, they're looking for things like HIPAA spelled wrong, incomplete sentences, oversharing of information, fuzzy thinking. None of that stuff works for me. And I've had people say to me, well, it's not fair that, that hiring managers pick apart my grammar and my spelling. Really? Oh, I'm sorry, but you need to get better at that stuff. That's what the world is telling you. So I just want to share with you what's in the mind of a hiring manager. All right. And so this is just, I just want to open up with this thought. We're gonna do some more, and I'm just going to continue to unpack for the amount of time that we have. What does a hiring manager want to see? Because if I can share that with you and you can grab onto it, then you can do that. And I'm not all that special. That what I'm looking for is all that different from what other hiring managers are looking for. Okay, everybody's got their little things. Everyone's going at it a little bit differently. But I've been helping hundreds of people, and I've been getting feedback from them about what works, and continuing to hone the advice that I'm providing to you. So this isn't just me telling you, but it's me plus a lot of other hiring managers. And before I turn it back over to you, I taught a 2-day training, which at least one person in this room today participated in. So I lead an open source project called the Cybersecurity Hiring Manager's Handbook. And that is a freely available resource on the internet. And that reflects the best thinking of over 50 cybersecurity hiring managers. It's designed to help other hiring managers who are still trying to get smart about how to hire. But if you're searching for a job, you should read that, because that's like the secret manual, right? For what hiring managers are trying to do. If you're going to sell yourself, you really should get into their head, shouldn't you? And figure out what it is that they need from you. So that's a good way to do it.
Can you repeat that?
The Cybersecurity Hiring Manager's Handbook. Do you all have access to the Discord channel for this workshop?
Yes.
I'm going to put the URL in there for you.
That'll be in the Discord.
Okay.
Perfect. So this workshop's labeled resume writing and mock interviews. So we're going to start talking about resumes specifically. And there's a few things about a resume that you want to include. There's things I look at, and I've been trained to look at things based off of my mentors. The recruiter who initially gave me a help out, he got me in front of into interviews for some amazing roles. And didn't actually end up getting me a job, but that recruiter is now one of my close friends who we randomly call each other. Stefan Stelmaroth. He's a U.S. Military Academy grad, which I don't hold against him, and
Not too much.
not too much. I do bring it up, of course. But he's a great guy, and he kind of set the example to me of this is what we do when you've learned something new. When you want to help people out, we help others. When you find resources, you pay it forward and you share with others. Like, he's the reason I'm here, really. And he has a resume and a template and guidance that he has from when he was running Rainier Cyber, a recruiting company. He's now moved on, and he is at Avant as their VP of cybersecurity, helping get resources to people who are working as VCISOs like we have. If your client wants this resource or that resource or this other resource, he's helping them build up their cybersecurity partners. But that resume rubric and guidance is what I lean towards. I'm also heavily influenced by Neil Bridges and Gerald Ozier, who I help with their YouTube and Discord communities. And they combined have decades of experience hiring, working as CISOs, and building security programs. They have similar mindsets to Kip of, I would hire you because of these things, and they've done resume reviews that I've watched and taken their feedback. And so one of the things that I use is from Cyber and Security website. I'll share this so that you guys can now see it. On Cyber and Security TV.tv community, and then resources, this grading rubric. It's something that I use. We'll talk a little bit about this when we get there, and Kip's got guidance that it doesn't contradict. It's just a different way of looking at things. But how are you describing your experience? Are you doing word soup? And we'll get into that in a little bit. Is the length appropriate? Do you have a relevant summary? If you've got a summary at the top, is it for the job you want, or is it for something totally unrelated? Because again, you want to present the brand of, are you going to bring this person, the product that they're looking for? And you want your summary to be part of that. And I know Kip's got some great feedback on how to present it like a newspaper, and I don't want to steal that. And then some bullet rules. So this rubric exists out here with some details. And if you want something to go back and compare against, you can look at this and say, like, okay, am I doing a great job or a poor job of defining my experience? Are my bullets, do they do what, so what, now what? Am I giving my bullets of my experience in a way that actually makes the person want to hire me for the job that they're describing? Or does it make me look like I'd be a perfect fit for the job I just came out of? Because that's the difference. You don't want to hire yourself for the job you're doing now. You want them to hire you for the job that they're putting out the job description for. So this is out there, and I'm going to put it in Discord. Just to assume all the resources that we've got, we're going to pop onto Discord. But this is how my thinking goes, is a lot in line with this. So Kip, from your standpoint, what are the things that you're looking at for a resume, and kind of what is the process that a resume is going to take in hiring nowadays?
Yeah. I want to talk about the life cycle of a resume, all right? From the time that you construct yours and submit it, and probably through an online submission, right? Some web page or something like that. 90% of all large employers these days are using something called an applicant tracking system. Anybody heard of that already? An ATS? Okay. It's really important to talk about what an ATS is and what it is that you have to do, because it's a bit of a gauntlet, all right? You need to figure out how to get your resume to surface in the ATS of the employer that you're trying to get hired at. From a hiring manager's point of view, an ATS is my own private Google search engine, but all it searches is resumes. So if I want to hire a cybersecurity analyst, I can go to this ATS, I can put in keywords, and it will pop out to me resumes that match the keywords and the other search criteria that I enter. You may be the best possible candidate for my position, but if my ATS doesn't surface your resume, I don't know you exist. Can you see how important it is? You will be effectively invisible to me unless your resume is tailored in such a way that the ATS shows it to me. All right, that's how important this is. And I'm not going to talk about this too much today, but in my course, one of the things I tell my students is it's not enough to submit a resume to ATS, sit back and wait for results. That is not a winning formula. You also need to go and find the hiring manager for that position on social media and make friends with that person. Because if you can do that, and if you can get the attention of the hiring manager outside of the ATS, and if the hiring manager becomes interested in you, then what they'll do is they will search for you by name, and then your resume will be visible to them. All right, but ideally you're going to do both. But as far as this applicant tracking system is concerned, you need to pay attention to a few things, right? So I'm going to share a few tips with you. The first thing is that you need to submit a machine readable resume. And that means you want to avoid things like no tables. Do not use tables in your resume. Use no graphics in your resume because ATS can't deal with that. Don't make your resume look fancy schmancy like some desktop publishing guru got a hold of it and put it on pink paper with magenta colored fonts and stuff. ATS doesn't know what to do with that. If the worst case is it'll completely black hole it, almost as bad as it will interpret it as total gibberish and create a record that is incomprehensible to a human being. So when you submit your resume online, make absolute sure that it is machine readable and follow the instructions. Every ATS is a little different, but I want you to read the instructions. They will tell you what constitutes a machine readable resume when you go to do the upload. Pay very, very close attention to that. You can also do what's called a resume, what the heck, like it's an ATS simulator. That's what I'm trying to say. So there are ATS simulators out there that you can upload your resume to, and it'll spit back to you a score of how well your resume is ATS compatible, right? Jobscan.co is one that you can try. There are many. That's just one. I don't make any money by telling you that. Just so you know, it's not an affiliate link. but it's a pretty good one, and you could start there. If you don't like it for whatever reason, there are many others. Just do a Google search and you'll find it. So that's the first thing. It's got to be machine readable. The second thing is it has to be keyword optimized. All right? Machine readable and keyword optimized. What does that mean? Well, it means that unlike in school, when your teachers said to you, if you plagiarize, I will fail you on this assignment. In this world of applicant tracking systems, if you don't plagiarize, you will fail. Mm-hmm. You have to rip that. You have to rip off that job description like crazy. You've got to figure out what are the top words. And when I say keyword, a keyword isn't just a single English word. It can actually be a short phrase. It can actually be 2 or 3 words together, even with spaces between them, that can be called a keyword or a key term or a key phrase. But keyword is what people call it. And so what you want to do is things like whatever the job description is, whatever the job title is in the job description, that had better appear on your resume exactly the way it's put on the job description, the job posting, right? So if it says junior penetration tester, JR period, and you spell out JUNIOR, that doesn't work. The machine's not smart enough. It's dumb. It doesn't, that's not an equivalent. So you have to be completely equivalent grammatically in order for the ATS to see that you have the correct keywords. The hard skills that are in the job description: copy, highlight, copy, paste, right? They have to be the same. You can't assume that pen testing and penetration testing is the same. It's not. You can't assume that OSCP is the same as OSCP written out. That may not work, all right? And you can't say, if that employer wants a certified ethical hacker, but you've got a certification that is functionally equivalent or better, and you don't put certified ethical hacker, the ATS is not going to do anything. It's going to look for CEH. You won't have it. Reject it. All right? This is a very, very literal situation. All right? And if you're wondering what the keywords are, have you ever seen a word cloud? Have you ever seen, like, right, a word cloud? Okay. And there are you can make free word clouds on the internet. What you do is you take the job posting, you send it to the word cloud, and then it comes back and it shows you what the keywords are based on frequency analysis. And the high frequency keywords will be big in the cloud, and the low frequency keywords will be small in the cloud. You want to really start by focusing in on the words that appear in giant type font, because those are the high frequency keywords. You better make sure those are in your resume. And by the way, don't use this old trick of putting a bunch of keywords in your resume down at the bottom, turn the font white, and turn it down to 2-point size. Because applicant tracking systems know that you're keyword stuffing, and they will black hole your resume for that. Yeah.
With a lot of application sites, they give you the options of filling in the website with your resume, or they give you the option of uploading that resume, or using LinkedIn to import. Would you recommend building a resume just based for that job, or would you recommend also uploading your LinkedIn, so then that takes a lot of work, depending on how you're.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. Where's my microphone, by the way?
We don't have a special microphone.
It's your machine?
Yeah.
Okay, so I should talk in a way that people on the live stream are definitely going to hear me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've got someone giving me feedback if we're bad at all.
So the question, I'm going to repeat the question for the
Yes,
people on the live
love
stream. So the question is, when you upload a resume, you can either upload a document, or you can put in maybe like the URL to your LinkedIn profile. Which one should you do? Well, you should, if you're applying for a job off the LinkedIn platform, then you should upload a document that is tailored to that job, and you should follow the instructions. So for example, don't upload a PDF if they want a doc, for example, right? Pay close attention. Never upload a PNG or a JPEG, right? Because I doubt that that's going to work. It may succeed, but behind the scenes it'll fail, right? And I know people get really frustrated and just exhausted thinking about the idea that I've got to handcraft a resume for every job that I apply to. I'm sorry. This is the world we live in right now. If you don't do that, you're just hurting yourself. But what you can do is you can create a template resume that you can then customize every time you submit your application, all right? And that template resume can have a lot of the keywords already in it.
And with that, there's a good chance you keep applying to similar roles. So there's a chance when you are changing it for a different position with a different company, you might just have to change and tweak some of those words.
Right.
JR versus junior, pen tester versus penetration tester, SOC analyst versus security analyst, whatever it is that they're looking for. You don't have to like start afresh. You just need to go through and what term are they using? Control F on mine. Okay, I'm not using that one. Let's make sure that that word that the ATS is looking for, that the job description says, is what I'm using.
And I would time box how much time you spend customizing every resume, right? In the beginning, you might say, I'm going to spend no more than 20 minutes customizing each resume. And then as you get better and better and better, you can say 15 minutes, 10 minutes, all right? And you can get very, very good at this if you learn how to use the find and replace functionality and that sort of thing. And if you write the resume the way that I'm going to share with you, then I think that's going to be, it's going to make you more productive anyway. All right. So machine readable resume with keywords. And then the third thing that I want to share with you is just this idea of don't rely on ATS by itself. You need to go out and meet hiring managers, whether that's the hiring manager for the specific job you applied for, or just hiring managers in general who hire people for the types of jobs you want. You right now, if you're physically here, are in an ocean of hiring managers and you probably don't even know it. So you've got to stand out to them somehow. So if you haven't signed up to lead a session, or if you're not volunteering, think about how can I make myself visible, right? It goes back to the brand. What's my brand and what's the best way for me to get my brand out there to get the attention of hiring managers at events like this? All right, because if I didn't tell you I was a hiring manager, just me walking around, right, you'd never know, right? So, we're incognito. So you've just got to assume that they're all over the place, like undercover cops, and attract their attention.
Being at a place like this is quite useful. If you were at the talk last night, who was at the panel, who just found out that their organization got like $12 million and they're going to hire 12 people over the next 3 years. Anyone know who I'm talking about? Alyssa Miller, mentioned last night. She's here. She's one of those people. I would go look at her LinkedIn. I would go look at her Twitter because she's definitely tweeted about it and find out, okay, how could I start up a conversation with her that makes her remember that I'm here learning new stuff. And if maybe she's hiring an entry level for this position in web app, because I do believe her organization does a lot of web apps, if that's something that you're interested in, if that's something that you've got a specialty in, say hi. Tweet later and be like, it was great to meet you and I love what you guys are doing with this web app. Also, you could tweet about what you're doing, learning about web apps, and put it all together.
Yeah.
Just an idea. What I would be doing if I was interested in that role.
Can you put up the resume template that I put into the Discord channel? Because I want to talk about that.
Yes.
Now I want to talk about what a resume looks like to a hiring manager, so that you can try and make yours look in a way that will be most appealing to them. All right. So
this one
or no, might be. That's it.
All right.
Yeah, so in the Discord channel, I've got a template. I've also got a guide in there, a resume guide. All right, so I've stuffed that channel full of things. Okay, is that it? Great. Yep. Thank you.
I'm gonna bring it over here and just share the whole thing.
Okay.
We'll all be looking at the same thing.
Look at you. He's on Windows.
I'm back on Windows. They gave me the choice. I missed.
All right, that's fine. Somebody has to do it. Okay, so I want to talk about the resume here, all right? To your eyes, this may seem like a very plain Jane sort of thing. To my eyes, it's absolute nirvana, because it's designed to allow me to get through this expeditiously, right? So that I don't have to adjust my eyes to a weird font that I've never seen before, and I don't have to hunt around for the information that I want. I've got maybe 30 seconds that I'm going to spend on your resume, because I probably have 50 or 100 that I'm going to screen through. All right, so I'm going to go through them really fast, and I'm going to read every resume like it's a newspaper article. How are newspaper articles written? Anyone know?
The folds. Who, what, when, where,
and but how's it organized? How's a newspaper article organized?
it should be first.
The main topic.
Yeah, starts with a headline, right?
Yeah.
Starts with a headline, and then there's this opening paragraph. And when you read that opening paragraph, you pretty much have the essence of the story, don't you? You could stop reading at that point. But if you like that opening paragraph, and you're like, ooh, this is really interesting, I'm going to keep reading. So then you're going to read 3 or 4 more paragraphs, and those 3 or 4 more paragraphs are going to kind of fill out that first paragraph, right? And then if you really like the story, you're going to keep going. And by the time you get to the bottom, you're going to get all these little nitty-gritty details, right, that never showed up at the top, right? If you want to get the real details, you got to go all the way to the bottom. But think about a newspaper article where you saw the headline and you went, nah, I don't want to read about that. But you never even get to the first paragraph, right? Or what if you hit the headline and you go, okay, this what? You know, it's one of those things like clickbait, right? You're like, okay, fine, I'll read it. Read the first paragraph, forget it, right? And then you move on. This is how hiring managers read your resume.
So you're saying our resume should be like a
Make it a TikTok video. That might work.
In other
That might
words,
work.
you've got to write your resume so that when I start reading it, you hook me immediately, and then you hook me again, and then you hook me again, and then you hook me again. At any point along the way, if you fail to hook me, I can go, nah, next. Right? So your summary statement up top there. First of all, look at the name and the address and all that stuff, right? Make it super clear. I want to know who I'm dealing with, right? Just get that straight out there. For whatever you do, by God, don't use an AOL.com email address for something like this, all right? Or Hotmail, all right? Don't do it, yeah?
Do you suggest putting your actual address on a resume?
Putting your actual address.
Or just like the city and state you live in?
City and state is what I do.
Yeah, it depends. A lot of this depends, right? So let's say you're applying at a place that, let's say it's a commercial real estate development company, all right? Anybody in real estate is like location, location, location. They're going to want to know, are you local or not? Because they're probably going to want you to come into the office, right? So think about your audience, right? Think about if you're applying for a remote only job, who cares what your street address is? Who cares what your city and state is? Maybe you just put United States, or I don't know, right? So but this is all about thinking about your audience, all of it, right? Everything. The answer to your question is almost always going to be who's your audience, right? Ask yourself who's your audience, okay? But city and state for sure. Don't use janky email addresses, right? Use a tech-savvy email address like Gmail or Proton or something like that, okay? And
don't use your current employer email address.
That would be silly. That would be silly. Yeah. And then your LinkedIn URL. If I see you put your LinkedIn URL up here and it has a bunch of that gobbledygook at the end of it, nope. What that tells me is you don't care that your LinkedIn URL is not customized, and that you probably don't even know how to customize it, right? That's not good. So make sure you don't have that gobbledygook at the end of your URL. Make it customized, right? So that it's easy.
Does anyone need help finding how to customize it? I will drop that in Discord.
It's not hard, but you have to know where to go. All right, the summary
There's a guide.
statement. This is what I want you to think about the summary statement. You ready? This is my guidance for you. Be brief, be brilliant, and be gone. Do not elaborate here. This is not the place to write your life story. All right? What you're going to want to have in this summary statement is, first of all, this is where you put the job title that you that you want, right? Remember I told you that you have to pull the job title off the JD and get it in your resume, and this is where you're going to do it, right? See where it says IT help desk technician, whatever the job is, you're going to put it in there. Now, if you already have that job, you can say that you have that job. If you don't have the job yet, you can say, I'm an aspiring XYZ, all right? So you're going to say that. What you're not going to say is something like, I'm a sous chef looking to change jobs. As a hiring manager, I don't care. There's nothing in it for me. It's all about you at that point, right? This summary statement has to hook me. You have to tell me what's in it for me. Why should I even read this resume? Why should I even consider hiring you? I don't mind that you get something out of a future work relationship with me. I think it's just fine. But what do I get out of it, right? There's got to be mutual benefit here. Now, the other thing about your summary statement is you need to talk about, like, what is your top characteristic? What's your brand, right? That makes me say, ooh, I want to read more, right? You don't tell me everything in the summary statement. That's like the first paragraph in the news story, right? You just hit it right off the bat. And then see that last part? I'm looking for my next full-time opportunity at a large technology company in the greater Seattle area to grow myself and my team. That's where you say to the hiring manager, I know that you are a large tech company, or I know you're a mid-sized manufacturer, or whatever, right? And then, so whatever you're looking for, put that there. And then if it's location specific, put the location in, and then say something about, I want to grow, but I also want to contribute to my team and I want to make my team better, right? This new team that I want to join. So that tells me you have a growth mentality, a growth mindset, which is amazing because I want people who grow, you know, who realize that they have to learn forever. And I want to know that you're a team player. Do you see how this one little paragraph, just see what a punch it packs, right? Without telling me everything, it's hooking me. All right. Now, then there's your top skills section, right? Which I'm very interested in. It better be a top skill and it better be relevant to the job. So if you know how to make Microsoft Word, if you're like a Microsoft Word expert and that has nothing to do with the job you're applying for, it's not a top skill. It's not top because even though you're great at it, I don't need it for the job. Top skill doesn't just mean what do I love to do as a candidate. It means what do I love to do that you want. Put those two things together. All right. And then job history. So there are very specific ways that you should be writing your job history. I want you to use the reverse chronological format. I want you to account for all gaps. If you took a sabbatical because your parent was dying and you were with them as they died, right? Put that on the resume. You don't have to put all the details. You don't have to say what they were dying of or anything like that. You don't have to sob to anybody. But put it on there because I want to know. I want to know what you were doing. And how did that experience make you a better team member for me? If your sabbatical was laying on the beaches of Cancun for 9 months and you learned nothing from that experience, well, that's a little tougher, right? Or maybe you can say, you know, I took a sabbatical to, you know, make myself fresh and ready for my next assignment. Okay, I'm interested in that, right? Now you're re-energized. You're ready to go again. That sounds interesting, but I don't care about all the beer bongs you did or that you learned you had a new favorite drink or whatever. That's not relevant.
Right. But knowing that you understand your mental health needs and that you've made
Great self-care.
wise choices and
I
taking
covered
care of
the
yourself,
cybersecurity without going mad.
that's huge.
When you write your bullets, do not put responsibilities in your bullets. I don't care what your responsibilities were. I want to know what you did. What did you do, right? Because anybody, so-called anybody, can be a cybersecurity analyst, but what did you do with that job? What difference did you make? And so your bullet should start with an action verb. Then you should explain what your accomplishment was, and then you should put a quantifiable outcome. That's what bullets are. Responsibilities can be a little teeny paragraph. See how there's 2 lines that sort of summarizes the responsibilities, and then the bullets are all about accomplishments. This is so powerful. This is like candy to a hiring manager. I'm slurping this up. This is fantastic. And whatever you have down there needs to reinforce the top skills that you put at the top. Because if I see something's a top skill, I'm interested in you as a candidate, you've hooked me, then I'm gonna go down here into the job history and I'm gonna say, where did they get that top skill from? If you allege a top skill, I wanna see the evidence of that top skill down here.
If I may. Way I like to remember this, that Neil Bridges shared, that I think is valuable, is what, so what, now what? What did you do? Why did it matter? And why does it matter to me reading your resume?
Me, the hiring manager.
Yeah, as the person, you've shared this with me. Why are you sharing this with me? How can I expect this to pay off in our organization? So like this one that's up here, reduce the number of severity of 4 or 5 vulnerabilities. Okay, that's something that you did. That's quantifiable.
That's
that
tangible.
means that you showed up, that you did your job, that you didn't just repeat your job description that you applied for when you got that job, but what did you actually do? So what? And then an average of 93 per week. Okay. Reducing time to deploy security updates by 74%. That's kind of huge. That's a good, so what? And then, and customer satisfaction by 31%. Oh, you can make our time go, you can make us more efficient and customers like our product even more. Well, that's kind of what I want out of an IT
Yeah.
technician, right?
Yep.
Like, I'm interested in that.
Now, these numbers, do they have to be independently verifiable by a research organization? I mean, what fidelity here? No, you don't. I mean, I'm not. You don't need to calculate these things and cite your sources, right? But they need to be defensible. Don't make stuff up. But one of the things that I used to do when I was doing operating as an individual contributor is I was kind of keeping a log. What was I able to accomplish, and could I put some numbers around that? What's a reasonable number but if you're not taking those kinds of notes all the way along, it becomes kind of impossible later on as you think back. What did I do 18 months ago? Well, I know what I did, but I'm not exactly sure what the impact was, right? So you should keep a little log about, the accomplishments on the job. They can be useful for handing to your boss when it comes time for an annual performance review. And then you can use them again when you search for your next job. All right. So just and I don't think that it requires a ton of work, but a little bit.
And if it's not a quantifiable sort of thing, did you do a project that was part of changing the overall organization that met the CEO's goals? Because if you were part of something and you guys got some sort of project across the finish line, say what your part was in that, say what the effect was. And if in the end it was that the organization met its goals in that year based off of your contribution, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, you can take some credit for that.
Yeah.
So I had a situation where I only worked a job for 3 months and went back.
Okay.
Would you recommend leaving that on my resume to show that I grew, or do you think I should take it off?
I'd put it on there.
Put it on.
Put on?
Yeah. Now the caveat is you better have a compelling story to tell about it, right? If your compelling story is, oh, they lied to me, it was a bait and switch, what a bunch of jerks, and when I figured it out, I bailed. No.
Always have, no matter what story you told yourself at the end of it, or what you tell people over beers with your friends, your story when telling your resume or your interview or while you're talking to that person once you have the job should be the positive things about that role. I learned a whole bunch in that role and figured out that maybe that exact position wasn't what I wanted to do. Or while I was growing massively there, it led to this other thing.
Yeah.
An opportunity that came along
no to.
that I wouldn't have been prepared for without that 3 months of being elbows deep into this subject.
Yeah. That
prepared me to launch. It was a launch pad for what I moved into. And I'm so grateful for having that opportunity. And if you're applying back to that same company in a different role, or maybe the same role, I don't know. And now I've grown and I want to bring what I've done since back to this organization because I believe in this organization and I always have. That's why I worked there in the first place.
If it was failure, you should say that. You should say, you know what? I took that job and after 3 months I realized it was an awful fit for me. It didn't play to my strengths and I wasn't doing a good job there. I wasn't growing. I wasn't satisfying my supervisor's needs. And I figured out within 90 days that was not a great fit and nobody was winning. And so I made the decision to depart earlier than I ever expected because I just didn't realize what I'd got myself into. And what I learned from that is,
for your resume, I would still stick to the what, so what, now what, what did you do? How did it provide
treat it
value?
like a real job. The fact that it only lasted 3 months is what you'll explain when you get asked about it.
And if it's one bullet, if you were only part of one thing in that time, that's fine. And I don't think anyone would
I wouldn't make anything up just because you have extra space.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to transition to resume review in a few minutes. I just wanted you to know that, we're kind of wrapping up the teaching portion, but I just wanted to say a few other things. Like resume rejection. I want to talk about resume rejection. All right. Why does it happen that you submit a resume and then nothing? You get ghosted, right? What could possibly explain what's going on there? Well, maybe your application or your resume is sloppy. Maybe you have incomplete sentences, spelling errors, missing words. Maybe it's just not neat. Maybe the ATS couldn't, translate it into a machine readable format, and so it just kind of went into this little bin of I don't know what to do with this, and nobody ever followed up. Maybe it's too generic, and you don't have enough of the right keywords in. Maybe you've got gaps in employment, because it can parse those dates, and it sees that you've got some dates that aren't lining up, and they've got it set so that people who have unexplained gaps are never shown to the hiring manager. They get screened out immediately, and that's why my advice and Josh's advice is. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I called you Jason before.
It's
didn't I?
fine. Everyone does
What
it.
a jerk.
Everyone does it. My buddy Stefan, 1 hour call, our first call, he called me Jason like 23 times because he went back and listened to it because he recorded it because he was a recruiter. And he's like, oh my gosh, it's fine. It happens all the time.
But that's why we're saying don't leave any gaps, because that can lead to automatic ATS rejection. And maybe you have the wrong skill set. Now, something like this could happen too, where the job gets posted and then the hiring manager later on realizes, oh, I really need somebody who's going to know something about cloud because that's just come up, right? And so they upgrade the job posting to include something about cloud, but that's not the version you saw. So you didn't put cloud in the resume, and now the criteria is different, but you didn't catch that. It's not your fault, but now you're not getting visible because, things changed. So stuff like that can happen too. Maybe your resume is too long. What's a good length for a resume?
Military or non-military?
And you could also say academic versus non-academic, right?
Absolutely.
But the typical private sector resume should be no more than 2 pages, and I don't care how long you've worked. I really don't. Because anything over 10 to 15 years is irrelevant to me as a hiring manager. I mean, it's got to be something like if it's a Nobel Prize or something, okay. But, anything short of, something really, truly spectacular, it's irrelevant. So if you've turned in a 10-page resume and it's a private sector employer, they're probably going to give you an auto reject because they're just not going to deal with that. Yeah. If you write in long form instead of bullets, that could be an auto reject. Spelling important keywords incorrectly, like HIPAA, HIPPA, is wrong. And you're applying to a healthcare company, rejected. Does that help? Right? And it's a silent fail, right? ATS isn't going to call you up and say, hey, sorry, but you didn't have cloud, so we couldn't do anything with you. Try it again next time. You could apply too many times for too many jobs all at once. That can be a red flag. Sometimes ATS says, if this applicant shows up for more than 3 open positions or 5 open positions, bounce them. Because now you reek of desperation.
And I'll tell you, sometimes you just don't have the thing that it's asking for. So Neil Bridges, he just shared a couple weeks ago. He shared with me when it happened. He's a CISO right now. He's a CISO for Query AI. He was looking at jobs and applied to one, and it asked, do you have a degree? And he doesn't have a degree. He's got his associates from Community College of the Air Force back when he was enlisted. And he's been a deputy CISO, and he was chief of content at INE. And when he applied to this position, it said, do you have a bachelor's degree? Because it was required. And then at the end of it, it said, do you have the requirements for this job? And he couldn't lie, so he said no. And it brought up, sorry, we are not accepting you for this job. And it's one of those things. The system is built for a certain thing, and it is what it is. And I'll tell you, what I started out with your brand, with making connections, I say find a way in that's not dependent on having the exact perfect resume. It helps. It's going to sound horrible, but nepotism will get you everything in this world. And here's why. If I know I've got an opening for a job, I'm first going to go, who do I know who can do this job? Because it's just so much easier to be like, hey, Bob, like I've got this sock job open and I know you've been working on that, or you've been with this one company. Will you come work for me? And if Bob is willing and Bob has what you need and you know it already, like, why wouldn't you? And it sounds unfair. And we're all adults here. And we understand that it's something I feel sad telling my daughters, but the world is unfair. Can you take advantage of that? Perhaps. And I'd say do that, but be prepared to do this part, to have this part right. Because even if you have that great connection and you turn in your resume, like Bob's like, oh, okay, cool. Apply for this. Let me know when your resume is in. And then HR comes up to you later and is like, Bob's resume, like, sucks. Then you might be like, well, okay, well, I don't want that. So even if you're Bob and you know me and I'm hiring for a position that you seem ready for, you got to be prepared. So you still need to have the resume ready to go.
So I want to split a hair. Okay. This is my perspective as a hiring manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nepotism, in my view, is an undeserved hire. The person's not qualified. They'll never be qualified. And they're just drawing a paycheck and creating no value. All right. To me, that's nepotism. Like you're my brother-in-law. I'm going to get you this job, but I don't expect you to actually do anything to earn your paycheck. All right.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like that. The other side of that coin is something that I think is a lot cleaner and is ethically okay, which is people want to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. This is the essence of humanity. Yeah. All right. If I know you, I like you, and I trust you, and I bring you in and I train you up because you're hungry and humble and you've got aptitude, there's nothing wrong with that. All right. There's nothing unethical about that. What seems unfair to a job candidate is, well, I didn't have a connection with that person and I wasn't considered based on my merits. If I had been considered based on my merits, then I probably would have gotten hired, right? I mean, this is kind of the thinking process that goes on in some people's heads, and I get that. That goes back to the unfair, right? Well, I didn't have a chance to make a connection with that person, so they never had a chance to know me, like me, and trust me. Okay, in that case, you're right. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to get cranky because that's the way the world works, or are you going to lean into it? Lean into it
and be ready for next time.
Yeah, lean into it. No matter what you think about it, you can make a value judgment about how it's wrong and unfair and blah 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 blah. Okay, and then you can eat your top ramen every night as you think that, because you don't have a paycheck.
Because you have to want to do what's right. What is right for what you need to accomplish.
Yeah, no one wants anyone unethical working for them, and we don't want to be part of anyone who's unethical. But it's one of those things. If I don't have to go through the months long of grueling interviews and putting out job descriptions and waiting for HR to bring me good candidates, because I know Bob can do the job and he's ready to go and do it, why wouldn't I?
Yeah. If you go read the Hiring Manager's Handbook, the open source project that I told you about, it specifically says in there that hiring managers are better off by having a talent pool of people that they already know they would like to have on their teams because they've been pre-vetted, because they've gone to a conference like this, and I've seen somebody make a presentation, and I sat in the audience and I saw how they handled themselves, and I saw how smart they were, and the work that they did and the results that they brought, and that they weren't an ass. And I went, okay, next time I've got an opening, I'm going to reach out to that person and see if I can get them on my team. Right? Why should I go through 6 months of torture if that person would be an amazing fit for my team and I can reach out to them and I can get them?
And it might not even be the hiring manager. So at I&E, I knew that when I got there, we wanted another red team instructor. And so I went, okay, I know people that I've been working with that, or I've known people in the community who went to cyber school with me, or who like were at the academy when I was, or who have been in the same veteran coding or cybersecurity communities that I've been a part of, who are putting out content. Hey, do you want to come work at I&E and help build this course? Hey, do you want to come work at I&E and help build this course? And I did that for the blue team position that's been open as well. Not because I get anything out of it, other than knowing that I'm working with someone whose quality I already know, because I've seen their videos and I've seen what the product that they put out. I'm not hiring for it, but my boss is. So like, if he doesn't know who you are, but I do,
Yeah, that's huge.
that's another thing.
Because
And
that's what I'll say. I'll say, Josh, who do you know? We got an open. Who do you know that you want to work with?
yeah, it's almost
Right.
more valuable.
Have you ever worked on a team that had a person on there that was annoying as hell? And you kept saying to yourself, when is the boss going to get rid of this person? And they didn't, and they didn't, and they didn't, and they didn't. And you're just like, what the hell, man? You're messing up the whole situation here.
Volunteers,
So
so.
as a seasoned hiring manager is not going to allow something like that to persist. And one of the ways I can keep that from even happening is I can get referrals from my current team members. It's a win.
And some companies have referral bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked at those companies. I haven't gotten those bonuses, and that's fine. But
It's funny
Still.
when someone tried to do that to me, but like I'm trying to do it to someone else too. It's like a
yeah,
crazy relationship.
Are we ready to transition to resume
yes,
review?
I think so.
Okay, I'm gonna get some more water.
All right.
You want some more water?
Yes, please. And feel free while I transition some things over. I'm gonna look at the socials, people who are watching, see if there's any questions out there. Are there any questions that we haven't answered for you guys that are here in the room so far? Okay, cool. Ooh, I don't see anything on my LinkedIn. So resumes are going to go to resumes@noobvillage.com. Put it in the, I think it's in the video descriptions or the event descriptions if you are watching.
Something along those lines. Oh, okay. 'Cause I had just, it was actually ongoing, because I'm actually up on the fourth.
Oh.
Yes, yes. Okay.
If I had money, I don't mind. I'd love for them
Thanks.
They'll tell you.
Careful. Oh, search everywhere.
So I got a trade for you. Okay.
They're all bad. Mine are bad sometimes. Mine are bad options.
Dieter and I are friends of DHS, super mentors, and we started branding. So we all made our own stickers. So like my handle is wading through logs.
I can see that.
Yeah.
That's
I
fantastic.
love that.
Oh. It also looks like the Seattle Mariners.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that, but I just like the colors, but they do fake, so.
Yeah. I
Right.
I recognize that. Already gave you stickers. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I'm actually,
Somebody's in the back.
This is the joke.
Oh, no, what, you are, you're the.
Beaches.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
I threw some stickers out there, just like, you know.
Because I'm like, I don't know this one yet.
Yeah.
So I know something in order,
Well, that just
all
happened.
these stickers that I know.
Ouch, you just dropped the internet.
I totally did. I dropped the internet. Everyone watching at home, I am so sorry.
So perfect.
That was my.
What can I do to
This is ours, so I'm just gonna move it. So where we can read stuff up
Oh,
there.
that's great.
You talked about it earlier, and I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. I don't think anyone's got this in the morning, or if they do, they're probably not using this table. So,
It'll get changed. It'll get fixed.
yeah. So let's make this work for us. So we can, so you can read what's up here.
This is an
Yeah, the technical book rate. I was on the roof of the pavilion one year. I worked for the company that shoots them, so yeah.
Wild West. Here's what my superpower.
Keystone.
There you go.
And tilted.
Keep it going.
I think it's more than this.
Wait, I was gonna try to
Oh,
cement
oh, no, no, I'm looking and
You
I'm
say
like,
it
there's a
might fall off.
duplication right there, and I'm like, damn.
I know. You keep your eyes closed for this portion.
There you go, right there.
That's good enough, right? Yeah. That's not, don't you guys nuts?
Yeah.
Okay. That's readable. It's good.
I make it bigger. I gotta make it bigger so I can read it.
I don't wear glasses, so yeah.
Oh, no, yeah. No, I had my contacts in earlier, and it was like, they're pointing something, and I'm like,
Versus
okay,
this
well,
one
I'm
already
gonna use
exists.
you can
It's
take
just, are you
my
signed in?
contacts out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't
It's
see it.
Look,
Like, you
it's
know,
right
you
here.
know,
It's
one
right
of
here.
those things, so I
Because new.
I'll have to, like I said.
So I don't actually officially work for VHS. My day job is today. Yeah.
Oh, no.
No,
It's
I'm saying,
it's always on
Yeah.
yeah.
But when you find what you want to do, because that was. and that's the thing, John's teaching style. Like, all the rest of it, yeah, I found these work offers. Oh, yeah, that's the kind of person that I want.
This
I want, you know, and then, you know.
Oh, well,
then
I'll go
came
get
Jason,
another
and then came Deb, and then came.
But I'm saying,
you know, and then came podcast.
Tuesdays, Thursdays, let's just keep this
And I'm
going.
like, okay, yeah, this is, yeah.
Create a community.
Right,
Yeah.
this is the kind of community that, because I work in the nonprofit, well, it's, you know, nonprofit right now, and it's just like, it's, okay, I have a passion for being helpful and being, but, you
Absolutely,
know,
yeah.
it's, no matter if we know what they do, obviously. Our, you know, our mission, our values, like exactly how, you know, people in their environments. Not necessarily.
Put your resume, put your ego aside, let them rip it apart.
A lot of people agree with you. I've got quite a few resumes to look at.
My sister
Um,
was a zip line instructor there.
I was gonna say,
Can I give you my paper resume?
sure, I don't. I won't be able to like put it up there. So
I can-
yeah. Oh yeah. Can you scan a PDF and then send it to me? And then I can PDF to doc it, and that's what I'm presenting here.
Okay, cool.
Jamie Brigman, is that okay? Cool. I want to make sure that I'm doing people who are here. Resumes at noobvillage.org. I'll redact it while I have it up here before I show it to everyone else in the world. Like, what am I do here?
You can leave my LinkedIn on there. If somebody wants to see that.
Well, you know, we will before we current company, but now I'm like. and I don't-
Shrey Kapoor on here. Brandon Wilson. There's other people who've sent it, so I think they're online, which is fine. We'll get to them, hopefully.
It's like, if that's your big selling point, it's like, make sure you have that.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard to make samples, man.
Oh, yeah.
Jane K. Okay, that's Joseph. We'll try to do as many of these as we can.
Thank you.
Christine Boyer. Is that?
Josh, your email to send it to was in the Discord?
Yeah, resumes
Okay.
at noobvillage.org.
Well, I mean, we just, one, I'm a little more to talk to you about that he actually, that's what they did.
Yeah.
So the other man, an aviator, where they are, they communicate with them.
Can I redo my resume for me? Awesome.
You're Christine?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So I'll probably start with yours.
So it's like, do I want to make myself?
And this was done by a professional resume people, by the way.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I'll start with Patricia's, and then I'll do yours, and then Jamie Brigman. Okay, then I'll do yours. Okay, cool. And then I'll bring in the others as we get them. I got 6 loaded up right now. So, all right, give me 1 minute.
We have a closed community for us parents. And where we can, it's like, somebody's, later back.
We're doing good, yeah.
Alive and well and shit, but I mean, you just don't, so sharing with him. I do.
My dad always tells me just to be quiet because my dad comes from a dark past. Like I grew up in a weird situation, but he's like, you don't want to be telling people. He's like, what if the Russians come after you? And the thing is, like,
Yeah, but that's that whole, okay, but then he comes from that mindset.
oh yeah, he's coming from a criminal mindset, so it's absolutely
Yeah,
like,
where, it's like living in that world, it's not, Christian, but they're also like.
Kip, what was the email address that we can send the resumes to?
It's
What you don't know in terms of chips.
noob
Resumes.
noob resumes.
Resumes at noobvillage.org.
Resumes at Noob Village.
I'm not a
Yeah.
He's the systems guy. I'm just the
that's cool that they at least did that for you.
Like, only because my guy was still a bachelor.
Damn.
I'm sure they can give you nice.
Keep that up through the whole thing.
But yeah.
You all get the joy of seeing everything. Cool.
It's not always exciting. I read blogs all day, so it's
Okay, but, well, and maybe because I just don't know enough yet, to maybe, I'm done by that kind of stuff, but I, because, okay. Because I know,
I tell people it's only exciting.
All right, I'm going to make this larger.
When I'm having a fun day,
Yeah.
everyone else is having a bad day,
Yeah.
and it's. Otherwise, I'm just like toddling around. Like I try to say I'm like a mall cop, like, and then like once that.
That's
once
better.
that happens,
Okay.
I just after them, like, I try to make fun of myself.
Well, I mean,
Is the hiring happy hour
there will be
just
people that
random
come over,
people meeting?
So
that will come over like shadow.
we will see. Pretend like I've got a plan for it. There are 4 orgs that are here who are going to be like presenting what they're doing and what they're hiring for.
Oh, cool.
And I think any other vendors who have positions or might have positions are supposed to be there. And if you are trying to get a position, then you meet them and see if the role you want is the role that they have. And we make this whole applying to the ATS and like making it through. We shorten that, and you get to meet the people and actually do the whole connection part first, which I think is way better.
Oh, for sure. The whole ATS thing sucks. It's so annoying.
Including like quick applies on LinkedIn and Monster, which are the ones where you're just like, your info is already in there and it's not specialized and it doesn't matter. I applied to like 250 places when I was getting out of the military. And the job I got was through a LinkedIn message. It was to a Naval Academy grad who like 20 years older than me, but he just gotten the role as a VP for education at KW. And I was doing an internship, knew what KW was doing, thought, hey, this might be someone who I might want to get a job with. It was doing contracting for the military and VP of education, like as a guy who had been an instructor for 2 years, like maybe he'd have a role for me. And so I set up with the initial thing was, hey, I'm working as an intern for 6th Gen. It was military, what do we call it? Skillbridge internship. I'm doing a Skillbridge internship with 6th Gen. I've seen some of the products that you guys are working on that are coming from the prime subcontracting sort of thing. Love what your org has put together. That was the first message. He came back with, I've heard of 6th Gen. You guys are doing great work as well. I said, I'm doing an internship and it's going to be over in like 2 months. Is there anything that I, as a former pilot, project manager with understanding of cybersecurity and the ability to like teach and help people, that I could do for your organization? And he said, could you send me your resume? We might have a thing for you. And that was it. 2 days later, a recruiter called me from the number on my resume and said, hey, you might be a really good fit for this cyber instructor position. I was like, that could be cool. My role says cyber warfare officer, and I am an instructor. I could probably be a cyber instructor. The conversation with the hiring manager and a couple others, I did not know was an interview. I thought it was like an informational interview, like what are they kind of doing and might I be a good fit? And it was. And the question was like, what's your experience? How many pen tests have you done? Like, how many things have you scanned? And I was like, I was a cyber warfare officer. So like I managed programs. However, my time at the special operations school has taught me that I can learn and teach anything. And that's what I said. I've had to force myself to learn things through analogies and like breaking it down to simplest and going back to core basics. And I can teach other people in that way. And I have like hundreds of them through like dozens of courses that I've taught. As teaching introduction to special operations while never actually being anything really having to do with special operations other than working at the communications squadron. It's a skill I have. I can teach resumes without ever having hired anyone. Leaning heavily on people just like that who do know things who I can learn from. And then I got the job offer the next day.
That's amazing.
So it's not always going to work.
No, but
it is my experience.
I'm a recruiter and I'm looking for a job, and it really is about who you know. It's you could be, yeah. Well,
I told you, I'm not.
yeah. Thinking, yeah.
All right, let's get started. If it's okay, because we could go all day, and we do want to spend some time in the mock interview portion. So Patricia, we've got your resume, and you didn't have a specific job that you were looking for. So
This is, but not in this industry.
that's fine. So we're going to go through that, understanding that it's not targeted to a specific job, and looking at your resume, I might have some thoughts.
Okay.
I know Kip might have some thoughts on maybe where you might want to start your search if you aren't already looking at a certain role.
Awesome.
Right? It's a little different than the guidance that we've given, where we want your resume to be tailored to a job role. In this case, in general, especially with a transition,
Right.
maybe we can help you figure out what job roles to start looking at, what job
That'd be
descriptions.
awesome.
So good on your information across the top. I redacted your email because we are live on the internet and I don't want you getting more spam or random phone calls. So looking at this, big picture, experienced executive level management professional, nonprofit and not-for-profit. Okay. Program, and I assume project management and oversight, with an experience with financial education.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, just trying to.
Yep. No, that's okay.
Yep. So you're seeing what I'm saying.
Yes, I am.
Proven record of operational administration and financial governance. While it might be true, again, it's one of those things of,
How to demonstrate it.
well, what does this mean to the hiring manager? Is this valuable to them?
Okay.
Because it should be job specific.
Okay.
Depending on what I'm hiring for, that could be super helpful. Am I hiring you to be like a COO when I'm reading through this? That might be useful.
Gotcha. Okay.
As a SOC analyst or an HR professional, I don't know.
Right.
It might not.
Understood.
Okay. Capable of managing multiple complex projects simultaneously and articulating corporate mission and vision. Again, that could be powerful, or it might not. Again,
Okay.
what are you looking for? Already reading through this, I would not suggest that you find like a SOC analyst role or a pen tester role, unless that's like what your heart's speaking to. If you're like, that's really what I want to do, I want to hack all day, then don't let me discourage you.
No, but this is a learning process for me because I'm relatively like less than 6 months in to exploring this industry.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go big pictures here. So this is, if I'm not mistaken, yeah,
A table.
this is a table.
So we're going to take that out.
So again, the ATS
It's not going to see any of that.
likely isn't going to be able to parse that properly.
And plus there's a mistake, but there we go.
And again, it's what I look at as word soup.
Gotcha.
Not a huge fan, because you might hit things in the ATS if it weren't a table and the ATS caught it. But as someone who's reading it, it doesn't grab me. It doesn't hook me. Like Kip was saying, you want things in there that grab your attention, make you, and they're not bad things. It's not that you did anything wrong. It's just for a resume.
They don't speak to a specific
Yeah.
need.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Now,
Okay.
if you were looking at a job description and it said experience with this thing and it's a soft skill, which you have, highlight, and you think it's one of your powerful skills, like if you are able to, if you were going for a marketing job, which might be a good one, if you could say project the mission and vision of the organization in such a way, and if you could tie that to a project that you did that you really want to highlight right here,
Okay.
that like stands out from everything else.
Well, no, it's more of like a weekly, monthly kind of thing, because I do briefs about our mission and vision to people that don't know consistently.
Sales, marketing, I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. And that's one of those things where, yeah, okay, maybe in your job description, like it doesn't necessarily fit, but might be a good place to highlight it. But that's if I was going to present it here, that's how I would do it. I'd prefer to see that if it is tied to a job in the bullets for a job description or for a job role that you had.
Okay.
That's my take. So then recently, for the last few years, you've been at the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is quoted from their mission statement. So that's the reason it's in quotes and it references their
Okay.
website, because there's so many people that don't even know who we are or what we do.
Yeah,
So,
I wouldn't have that.
okay.
It's one of those things. There's a good chance the hiring manager hasn't heard of the company that you've been at, and they don't really care.
Right, okay.
Is that
Yeah.
not to
That
hurt?
makes perfectly good sense. Yeah, I am,
Does that make sense?
it does,
Because again, it's the value to them.
right.
Like, what value do you
Yeah.
bring?
See, a big misconception that a lot of people have, and I had this too, right? I as a job hunter, I fell into this way of thinking as well, is that my resume is something that is a place for me to showcase all my great work.
The things that I have done.
Right.
Right.
Right. And that is, and that, you know, I'm going to make it something that pleases me. But that's not what the purpose of a resume is. The purpose of a resume is to get an interview. That's it.
Might I thought of looking at your full resume last night or before, but I kind of wanted to do this like cold. Here, I have this feeling looking at this and like the jacket that you're wearing that you either were an officer or enlisted in the Navy.
No, I'm actually a Navy mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because looking at how it's built, and Kip, you might know what I'm thinking. Performance reports in the military have a certain style to them, and those are where you like, look at me, I'm important, I matter. And a lot of people, when they come out, they make their resumes look like an officer performance report, which isn't necessarily wrong. It's just you have to do it in a useful way.
Or if you want to go work at Lockheed,
Yeah.
they'll probably recognize it for what it is.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you'll be
yeah.
fine.
Then the colonel
Well, this is actually
who just
for
retired and
a
is working there.
nonprofit within the
Yeah, then they might be like, oh yeah, this reads just like I would have written it as a year ago. Yeah, exactly. That might work. But
Understood.
okay, ability to articulate, casework preparation. Again, does it read more like the job description that you're in?
Or is it accomplishments? Things you did because you had that job
Yes,
that, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
because that is, well, within the scope of what I do now, that is my responsibility, is to articulate what our mission and vision is,
Yeah.
what the general's philosophy is.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it reads like
Yeah.
a responsibility.
Mhm.
So what did you
okay.
do with that responsibility?
Like, how many people did you talk to?
Right.
How much money was raised?
Right.
How, like, what was the overall impact? Because
So
this
I am
organization
getting
helped people, right?
monthly briefs on this information. Well, because I'm not allowed to raise money because we're not, you know, that's.
So you're not part of the funding. You don't contribute to the fundraising because nonprofits have to raise money.
In the end, it raises
Oh, no.
funds to do something with
Yeah,
those funds,
okay,
right?
And well, this is, okay, military specific, which you know, may be aware of, but NAV admins, MAR admins do not allow the society. It's by our own, for our own. In other words, I am the shoulders that all of those people stand on when it's time to fundraise,
Mhm.
but I am not allowed to directly solicit.
Okay.
So I have to share.
But you were still part of the overall
Oh, yeah,
organization
well, yeah,
making money.
work.
Yeah.
Overall, the
Yeah.
organization
Yeah.
brought in money and
Yeah.
was able to do
And
things with that money.
and your contributions helped raise X dollars. You didn't do it
Yeah.
So, yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
So you
But
did it.
you allowed all these people to stand on your shoulders, and the result of doing that was this amount of money was raised, and it was an X% increase over the previous year.
Yeah, I was able to increase earnings or funding 194% last year. but-
Where in the
That's
world is
huge.
that number?
You
That is an amazing
organizational change.
That's an amazing accomplishment.
But yeah, well, I mean, but that is for my, you know, my office specifically, not, I mean, or for my base specifically, not.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
That's fine. That
All you
showed
need is- all you need is-
what, so what, now what?
Okay.
What did you do that mattered? How did it matter? And why do I care about it? Oh, you know how to take an organization and improve it 190%?
Yeah.
All right.
So
That's
look,
still
I like people who are humble. You're being way too humble here. Okay. In this particular situation, you're not selling yourself.
Okay.
You're just not.
Nike
And
doesn't say we're okay
So I'm
shoes.
relaying information, but I'm
They say
not-
we're the best shoes.
Yeah. This isn't a weekly report. This is look at me, look at me, look at me, and look what I can do for you. Right. And remember, I don't want you to sell used cars.
Right.
I want you to tell them how you can solve their problems. I want you to tell them how you can serve them and make a difference.
To get to that 149%, what did you put in place? Did you change something that was already happening? Or start something?
Director, I took an active role in what I was allowed to do, in essence, outside the gate.
Okay.
Because I can directly solicit all of you on behalf of my, my entity, but inside, but now that,
I would say that you started a new campaign in a realm that was maybe untouched before. I mean, that's not false, right?
A lot of directors won't even do that. And it's
Yeah.
like, I will tell everybody I talk to
Yeah.
that I'm allowed to talk to.
There you go.
outside the gate,
That you found a new
this is how
way.
That's right. You worked
And
outside the box.
Yeah.
You made it happen without violating anything.
And that's a skill people want.
My gosh.
They want you to find new
That's
solutions
huge. Yeah.
that pay off.
How much time are we
On
going
it.
to use on each
Okay.
person?
Hopefully not too much. Okay, so those are some examples. A lot of your bullets are going to speak the same.
Yep.
Also, this is a lot of bullets. Depending on the role, it might be too much.
I'm a party of one, but that doesn't necessarily focus on all of the things that I'm responsible for.
Again, that newspaper.
Right. Got
Like, how much do you need to know about the background of John Benet Ramsey? Like, right?
it.
It makes sense to some of you. Okay. I needed to pick something real fast. Okay, and a lot of these are gonna then speak the same. It's things that you did that this reads as if I was hiring for the for NMCRS for the chair volunteer. This is what I would put in that job description. But that's not right now. I'm hiring for a different position. And so you need to then sell yourself. Again, what project? What did you do? What did you do that was different? That matters to us. I like that you have this. It speaks to what might look like a gap, self-employed, and what did you do there? Again, if it's one of those things where you can explain it in a couple sentences, if it's one of those things that did you learn something new that you could apply to your new job? That might be a great time to highlight. Oh, I learned this, and I learned a new. I really focused on my creative habits that I didn't have an opportunity to in the past. Would that be wrong?
No, that would be correct.
I don't know. I feel like that'd be a great time to mention that.
And being a small business person, the financial, the bookkeeping,
Learned a lot of new skills about business that I hadn't had to worry about before. I don't know. That might be something worthwhile to highlight there, that this person understands what it's like from the top of an organization. And when they come into our organization, maybe they'll have a picture of what's my contribution have to do with the overall mission. Okay. And a lot of this reads the same as that. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense where you might want to then change? Focus on what you did in those jobs that you can apply to the job that you're looking for. You might want to look at marketing or sales. I find a lot of people who have been around for a while, those are great ways. They're like cyber related. I've talked to the salespeople at SimSpace. I've only been there a week, and a lot of them have a lot of experience. They know what an OSI, like what the OSI layers are.
Right.
They can't tell me what protocols have to do with each OSI layer, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Or like how you would take advantage of each one for like hacking something,
Right.
but they know what OSI layer means. And if you're in cyber marketing, that is valuable. Can you also do marketing? Can you like create clicks and create sales calls and create revenue? That's also very important. But if you understand some cyber, then you don't need to know all of the things about cyber.
Right. And because I'm just beginning my journey, that's just it. I don't.
Why go back to what a 19-year-old is fresh at? You know all this other stuff. focus on that. I don't know. This is my take. Okay.
Okay.
Christine.
Mhm.
So, Christine, you said that this one was built by a professional. Did you, or was it a volunteer or did you hire a professional? Okay. Was it for a specific job?
Yeah, for either HR or corporate or recruiter.
Okay. And your background in general is as a recruiter?
Yeah, in HR.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Rejected most of this. Your summary is not summative.
No.
So it's not in and of itself bad, but it doesn't hook.
Oh.
So if you could, in a couple sentences, say what it is about yourself that's specific to probably this job rec that you're looking at. What like keywords are they looking for there that you can put in here, especially soft skills, because HR is going to be a lot of soft skills. It's not necessarily like, are you the best at like this program that they use for ATS, right? It's more in how do you contact people, and they're going to probably put soft skills in their job description. That's your opportunity to be like, I am that. I am a creative professional who connects with people at a like human level, or whatever their job description says. Like that's an opportunity to be like, copy, paste. I can do that. Yeah, that's not a lie.
Mhm.
That's what I would throw in there. It's a great opportunity to like keyword 100%. I've got them all.
So I've been doing that with the cover letters, but is it now to have a resume that's kind of like
How many cover letters did you read when you were recruiting?
I do read cover letters.
Okay.
I don't have time.
It's a lot.
Mm.
Depending on,
Why are they requested so often then?
If they're requested, then they'll probably be read, but be
Okay.
careful, they're not often requested.
Yeah.
No, Amazon doesn't even require cover letters
Okay.
anymore.
Yeah.
They just want your resume.
I've done one cover letter that I found out was wholly unnecessary. And it was just me like, I love your organization. I really want to work for you.
Oh, love note.
And
No, that would be me.
that was it. That was my cover letter.
I don't think anyone's going to go wrong writing and
Yeah.
submitting a professional cover letter. I don't think anyone's going to go wrong, but do not expect the cover letter to carry your resume or make up for shortcomings in your resume. That won't work.
Yeah.
So all information should be communicated in the resume.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Left for
Because the
communication in
ATS
cover
isn't
letter.
the ATS isn't indexing your cover letter. It's
Mhm.
indexing your resume.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay.
Now, see, if you're handing it directly to someone, if they're like, hey, email me your resume, that might be a great
That's
time
totally
to throw
different.
in the cover letter or in that email
Yeah,
something human and
totally
personal
different.
Okay.
Yeah, and
if it's requested directly.
And if you like a resume that's kind of fancy looking, give that to a human being.
Mhm.
But don't use it with ATS.
Gotcha.
Right.
Cool.
And by the way, when you upload to an ATS, be careful about font choice. You want to use bland, easy to process fonts like Calibri,
Okay.
right? Whatever the default font is in Microsoft Word, right?
Arial. Times
Arial would be
Arial.
fine. Don't use Times New Roman, not because the machine can't handle it, but because it's considered to be old-timey,
Dated.
It is.
dated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even though I love it,
Mhm.
I won't use it because my audience doesn't think it's, modern and energetic.
Feels like a 12th grade
Old-
report.
Old and tired, right?
Yeah.
Like your third grade reader.
Again, a little bit of word soup, and it looks like a table.
The
If we
areas
could-
of expertise.
Yeah. If we
Oh,
could
yeah.
plug this into, like, where did you show that you're entrepreneurial? I imagine down here I'm going to find that you
Yeah.
like had your own company at some point.
Yeah.
That's a great time to say to describe that. You don't need it up here. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So again, I don't include a description of the job
Mhm.
for like myself.
Mhm.
Even though like no one knows what a cyber warfare officer does. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Especially a lot of companies have the exact same job as another company, but they call it something else.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
You did a job at this point in time for a company. What matters to me? I want your bullets that tell me why you're of value to me. Again, not like you're not putting in an application for like your lifetime achievement award to the academy. And there you might want to like tell all the story, tell your full story. Here, I got 8 minutes to read 20 resumes. And then I got to go home or work on this other project. And I've got 20 resumes for today, and this is the amount of time I've given it. So like, okay, not finding anything useful here. Moving on. Not finding anything useful here. Oh, hey, this guy might have some things. Okay, adding him to the list of let's set up an interview. Moving on. Okay, she's got something. Okay, let's add them. Nothing. Okay. I'm a hiring manager, and I've got things to do.
So I feel like following your example that you showed at the beginning will be really helpful.
Yeah. And it's the link to that is in Discord.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. And please don't feel put up by what we're sharing.
No
All right.
way.
Thank you. Perfect. See, and that's the growth mindset we love. Can you guys read that all right? I'm going to make it bigger because I can't read it. Okay. So Jamie, do you know a job that you're looking towards?
I'm looking to kind of transition into either like security engineer,
Okay.
something on the security side, doing more with Linux. So a lot of the blue team SOC stuff is out because that's mostly Windows.
Well, it depends.
I mean, just from the job descriptions I've read. But I mean, yeah. So I mean, just security engineer or
Okay.
something like that.
Sounds good.
IT, ICS.
Gotcha. Are you used to working in command line then?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
And I don't have a summary because last like 3 recruiters I've worked with said scratch it out.
That's fine. If it doesn't add value, I don't know. Do you think I think it's a missed opportunity not to have a summary. If you can, in 2 sentences, tell me why you deserve this job, like why you're a good fit for this job, tell me.
This is like a stock table in the newspaper.
Right?
It's not a news article. How are you going to hook me? I'm a human being. Hook me.
And it is tough going through recruiters versus direct job applicants because with that title, they're looking for hard skills,
Yeah.
not soft skills or able to kind of sell yourself from that perspective.
Yeah.
If you're working through a recruiter,
What kind of recruiter?
like third-party recruiter.
You mean an outside recruiter
Yeah.
versus an inside
Yeah.
recruiter?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
It depends on what the company told that outside recruiter to look for.
Yeah.
So that may be correct in some cases, but maybe not. It
Yeah.
just depends, right? Because the external recruiter is going to follow the criteria established by the person that they're recruiting for, right? So, but it's going to be very job dependent. It's also going to be very philosophy dependent. So, for example, some companies only hire for hard skills, right? And that's how come you end up in organizations where other people you work with are absolute assholes and are tolerated because they are amazing at their hard skills, but they're awful human beings to spend any time with. All right. So if that is a trigger for you and all you're getting evaluated on is your hard skills, be careful.
I've got an experience. My buddy Stefan got me into an interview that I probably shouldn't have been able to get myself because he had the relationship. He had the relationship with the hiring managers, having brought them candidates before and being able to explain those things that didn't exist in my resume. Soft skills that he was able to be like, look, this guy can learn stuff. And it kind of shows in my resume, but unless we get the opportunity to like talk, it's not going to show up. So as a third-party recruiter in that sense, he had that ability to do that for me, in which case my summary didn't matter as much. But it's rare. Also, once I got there, it was the hard skills of I did not know Python the way they needed me to know Python, and it was going to be coding all day, doing some cool stuff that you might learn about in these other workshops here. But and I dodged a bullet. I found out that like I probably would have, as a noob and not knowing like a whole career of Python and Bash behind me, there's a chance I would have had to deal with like senior coders who did not like noobs. This is what I've been told from people I talked to that I met at the interview that I'm now friends with, that they did not recommend me for the job because they thought I'd get eaten alive. And having come from flying, that I thought that was impressive. That's fine. Yeah, I'm happy I didn't get that job. But in those situations, sure, the summary doesn't matter, but that's rare. In most cases, you're going to want a summary that when it gets in front of someone means something to them and keeps them reading. Okay, so I'm looking for a systems engineer who has experience in Linux and writing rules and I don't know what else security engineers do other than write firewall rules. But
You cannot come permissions to users down to the flag we can use.
yeah. So if you can say that in like a couple sentences, I feel like if I was hiring a security engineer, like that's the sort of thing I'd want to see at the front. Like, oh, okay, this guy's got experience with firewalls, with proxy servers, with EDR tools. And then let's see what your experience is. Okay, so then we get into your jobs and okay, you worked for Broadcast Music Corporation as a senior Linux administrator. Okay, cool. That tends to lead into, okay, administered 130 endpoints or servers with custom applications. And then what does that matter? Sorry about the formatting. I blew this up so I could read it. But why does that matter? Like, what were you able to keep uptime to a certain amount? Were you able to impart like something new? Did you do anything different than administrating servers?
Yeah, I mean,
Or what in there did you do that like sells you and is different than every other like system administrator out there? Does that make sense? Are you thinking of did you do any projects?
yeah, I mean, and I guess it gets down into a couple of the other bullet points, but
Sure. The Ansible playbook.
Ansible playbooks, and we implemented a patching policy for all the Linux servers that didn't exist.
So what were you guys able to do with the Ansible playbook?
I
know what Ansible does, but like, what were you able to do with
Instead
it?
of using like a patch server like satellite, we automate.
Yeah.
The,
But what was the
downloading and
result
patching
of
it.
getting that set up? Were you able to?
We can now patch in like an hour versus 4 hours.
Boom.
There you go.
Increase
There you
Boom.
go.
100%.
Yeah, you increased efficiency 400%, or you cut like patch time down by like down 75%.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. You did something. You implemented something that had a result that is something that I want in my organization.
Result.
It's going to be a lot the same.
So
You
I did have a question because
Yeah.
So I was at Airbus for a long time and I had several different roles.
okay?
I always get asked questions, so I was just putting it like one big thing and then having the different jobs split out, but not having Airbus defense at each one, and it always caused some confusion. So now I switched to
The chronological.
Okay, that's a good
where
one.
It's I put Airbus twice with 2 different positions because
Yeah,
they
That's
were-
great. I don't
they-
have a problem with that.
I got no qualms with it. It works fine. Also, kind of shows that you can progress in an organization and grow into a new position.
Mhm.
Like, I like that. Your bullets, again, the same. They're not bad bullets, but it's just you got to show value. And you don't need all of them. Like, which ones hit hard? Again, they've only got so much time to read. Like, got it. Integration engineer. I've got an idea of what an integration engineer does. Cool. You're saying all that. Nothing stands out that's like what made you more valuable than any other integration engineer. What was the project? I imagine you did something that, again, increased efficiency, took servers down from like 80 to 20 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
What you know what it is. I don't need to know right now, but
Yeah.
it should, even if it's 2 bullets, if you take this all down to 2 bullets where you showed impact, that's my bad.
Is that your bad?
I took it from 150 down to 100%. So like, I think,
No.
okay, no.
No.
Okay. There you go. Attention to detail.
Yeah, and I
It's-
guess that's coming from
It might also
Google
be.
Docs to
I-
Word.
Yeah, I
They usually
think.
print it out as a PDF.
But do you see how something like that can happen to ATS?
Yeah.
Yep. Points.
Ooh, what's going on there? Why is there such white space between that mentored and supported peers bullet?
Let's see if it.
Oh,
It fit on the first page or on.
Yeah, so
the first page
pagination
on
can be an issue, right?
okay, yeah.
So watch out for that too.
I don't mind the.
You're zooming, it shouldn't cause.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's doing that much. Were you infantry? What were you when you were?
Ammo tech.
Okay, but
Any transferable
4
skills?
years you led people at some point, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was basically supplies for ammunition.
Okay, but
Did you manage databases at all? Did you input to a database? Did you?
No, I mean, it was.
Trying to think of some of the loggies I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's inventory.
Inventory control.
Okay.
That's something. I don't know. That's worth a bullet. Manage
Well,
inventory
yeah.
for how many things? It costs how much money for an organization? How big? I don't know. That's not nothing.
Again, you want to look in your background for transferable skills that are going to help you get your next job.
Yeah.
And by the way, 1996 to 2000, that's over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So be careful about whether you even mention that at all.
Mentioned it because some of the jobs I was looking at give veteran preference.
Okay, then that's a reason to have it in there.
Yeah.
Right, but there should be a reason.
Yeah.
Right. You could also, if you had a summary statement at the top, you could say that you're a veteran,
Okay.
right? Instead of putting that in there, there's another way to do it.
Okay.
If I saw a veteran in the summary statement and I didn't see a job, I might wonder. Depends.
But that's
It
okay
depends.
because you know what? That'll get you the interview.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, because it's 2 points.
Yeah.
I mean,
5
well,
points.
and I want to know if I'm a hiring
It's
manager
like,
and you say,
let's
I'm a
get him into
veteran.
the interview and let's talk.
Okay, now you've made a question mark over my head, a good one, because now I'm like, maybe I need to talk to this guy, right? The kind of question marks you don't want to have over my head are the ones where I'm like, what the hell are you saying?
Yeah.
So there's good question marks and bad question marks.
Certs.
Hooks, right? You're looking for hooks. It's all about hooks.
What's your take on certs listed?
The only certifications you should have in your resume are the ones that are relevant for the job you're trying to get. Because I don't care. I don't care if you're certified in deep water diving or scuba or a technology that has nothing to do with what I'm considering you for, this next job. You're shifting the burden onto me of parsing your resume to look for the relevant stuff. I'm not going to do it.
Mhm.
I'm going to go find somebody else who had way more consideration for my time.
I don't mind these ones. GCIH, SZA.
I have
But-
nothing. I don't have any problem with what's up there because I
Yeah.
have no idea what job he's going for.
Yeah.
I'm just saying once you target a job,
Right.
slim this thing down.
For the education, I don't know that there's a ton of value explaining what the SANS courses were. Knowing that you got the GIAC, I feel like kind of goes that you took the SANS course. If you didn't, then you're a
Whether you
wizard.
challenged it or not,
Like-
it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Knowing that you're working on your bachelor's, I don't know. I think that there's some value there. Like
do.
you're working on something.
I do.
That
Yeah.
You've got a growth mindset that you're
Yes.
developing yourself. Like,
Mhm.
I like that.
Yeah.
Soft skills, again, this is kind of, I feel like this is a bit of a word dump. You could pop these into like, what did you do? Like, as a system administrator, there's chances that you interacted with people on a regular basis. Like if that was part of, if your soft skills matter, if there's soft skills on the job description, and you feel like you can say that they had an impact and had a result, and you can slide those in there, that's where I'd want to see it. I don't see a lot of value in it being here.
In your technical
Personal.
experience section, you want to remove everything in there that's irrelevant to the job you want. And the fact that you worked on Windows XP, I can't, I'm like really trying to imagine how that would be relevant these days. Again, this is like, this is another, I think, example of the thinking that I used to be in when I was like, my resume is something that reflects my full glory and everything I've ever done. But this is not a document for me.
Yeah, I would hone it down to
It's whatever you
the
need to get the
specific
next
things
job.
that they have on the job description. If they want to see that you've got experience with Ubuntu, like, yes, I do.
Yeah. Or Linux, right?
Or
Then-
Linux.
Then you can tell them which distro
Yeah,
you're experienced with. That's fine.
I'd put that. But yeah, it's going to be specific.
And by the way, as an example, I can see you've got Postgres on there. Well, if the job you're going for requires a different flavor of SQL, and you don't have experience with that one, then you need to figure out a way to get the keyword for the flavor of SQL they want onto your resume, right? And so what you might do is something like Postgres SQL, and then in parenthesis, you might say highly similar to the flavor they want.
Okay.
That
Are they
way you've got
MS?
your keyword
Are
on
they
there,
MI? Are
but
they?
you're not stuffing the keyword in there in a weird way.
Because as a hiring manager, as a recruiter, if you saw like, hey, there's SQL over here and there's SQL over here, even if you don't know like what SQL or SQL means, do you think that that's valuable? Like, oh, okay, he said right here that it's very similar to this other one. Does that hold value to you? Do you think as a recruiter?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were talking to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Say it again quickly.
Yeah. So the job description talks about like MySQL.
Yep.
He doesn't have experience with MySQL, but he's got experience with Postgres SQL.
Mhm.
If you saw in his skills Postgres SQL,
Mhm.
and then similar to MySQL, do you think that's valuable?
Mhm, I do. Yep.
All right, because then you're not asking. You're like, wait, are these the same? Like, whoever you
No,
would
no,
ask.
and I would talk to the hiring manager and be like, hey, look, this guy has this. Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
It says it's similar. Is it similar enough?
But don't make a false equivalent, right? If they want no SQL, I'd be careful.
Good point.
Regarding that, on the experience of those type of things, one of the things, like, I guess, for this example, listing all of the operating systems doesn't necessarily mean you are proficient or expert in from that perspective. What's your all's take on, because your background looks like from your experience, you are an expert in Unix. You are probably proficient in Microsoft. Like, listing every operating system doesn't necessarily help.
Yeah.
From, like, as a hiring manager,
You should only list the things you need to get the next job.
Yeah. So I'm
Those include,
not a huge. I've done this. I might have this on my resume right now. But the feedback, that I've gotten is that
this
this
like
doesn't matter
Pokemon.
unless you can plug it in to where
This is
it
like
matters.
Pokemon cards. Got to collect them all.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Well, I can log into it.
Just show me the one I need. Give me that
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh card, man.
Yeah. What I'd rather see, if this job description calls for you knowing Red Hat Linux, then like, you know Red Hat Linux. I saw it up in one of your bullets for a job. Perfect. If you're going to be working on Red Hat ecosystem and you know it, like, definitely have a bullet about that and what you did with it that matters and had a result. Okay.
This is a very different way of thinking.
Yeah.
It is. And and if you're not really familiar with this way of thinking, it's going to take you a little while to turn the corner on this. Okay. And that's all right. But commit yourself to turning that corner. Okay. You're going to have way better results in your job hunt if you can.
And be prepared to redo it for every job.
Yes.
So only apply for jobs that you really, really want.
That's right. That's right. If you shotgun apply for jobs, you are so wasting your time.
It's like those shotdown
So-
recruiters.
And they know
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah. Yeah,
As a recruiter,
you-
people suck at me.
that's right. I mean, a generic resume that comes in, first of all, I'm never going to see it because it's not going to get surfaced by ATS. But if it
Which one do you-
somehow did,
Morgan?
you know, there's going to be other resumes that are going to be tailored, that are going to catch my attention, and I will never read the generic one.
Do you have a job that you're
Sock management.
A way to think about this too is when you're not working, your job is to get a job,
Doesn't even mean jacket a little bit.
and that
I
means it's work,
these guys see it,
and it's
but
no fun.
I'm not sharing it out yet.
Just need to devote hours per day.
Yeah.
Do it. Yes.
I mean, I remember one time I was in a session like this, and I said, if you're just waiting for the daily email to roll into your inbox, and you fire off a few resumes and then go back to playing Halo all day,
Good luck with that.
that is not a winning formula at all. That is just you trying to not feel too guilty about the fact that you wasted your whole day playing Halo. But that is not job hunting.
So what kind of role are you looking for?
Possibly like a sock manager.
Sock manager? Okay. So Josh is looking for a sock manager role. You're probably familiar with what that's looking for. Just overall, he's got the 2 columns. For ATS.
That's like a table to ATS.
Okay.
It's not going to work. It looks
So that's-
nice, and you could keep this format if you ever wanted to send this to a human being,
Okay.
and that's fine. But you need a machine readable version. Now, in my experience, having a machine readable version is usually the only one I'm going to do because I'm kind of lazy, and I don't want to have to be constantly updating 2 different versions of my resume. That's just my character flaw.
If you're going to an event where you're going to be handing it out to people, that might be the time to be like, I'm artistic. I'm not. But if you are, then that might be the time to be like, okay, I'm going to hand this out to people. That's where I want the version that I'm handing to them to like maybe stand out from the others.
Or just get your art fixed somewhere else.
Or that. That's also, yeah. Yeah,
But
you don't
anyway.
have to get it here. The goal of your resume is to get you a job, right?
Mhm.
That's the rule. That's what you want it to do, right?
Right.
So let's focus on that
Okay.
for this. Our 2 cents. I'm trying to think if I can make this easier for you to read. You can read it off here too.
By the way, we have 10 minutes left in the session.
Overall. Oh wow. Okay.
Is there another cost right after?
I don't know, but there could be. Let me check.
You check that.
We're checking.
I'm gonna run through this quickly.
The
Okay.
moderators are checking. You guys keep going.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Is security operations lead or instructor the role that you're looking for or one that you currently hold?
When that currently holds.
Okay. Got it. That's why that's there. And then your summary. I don't know that I would put that up there. If you wanted to say that that's what you do, right here where you say security lead, I think works. My 2 cents. Or headline. He did mention it. It's worthwhile if that's the role that you're looking for. If you're looking for a SOC lead, like SOC lead might not be a bad thing to put there.
Well, okay, so my opinion is security lead, if you're looking for a SOC manager position, is okay because it's showing that you're already headed in that direction. You're not just an analyst, you're a lead, right? So I think that is absolutely going in the right direction. But college instructor, irrelevant to this resume, right? Because being a college instructor does not distinguish you as a SOC manager. It just doesn't.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not directly lined up with the success factors for being a SOC manager. And active in the InfoSec community, don't say that, show it by showing links to things that you've done in the community that demonstrate you do it. So better to show it than to tell it.
Yeah, you've got your website and you've got your LinkedIn over here, which is good. I think that if I got your resume, I'm definitely going to go look at those things. And if that shows that you're active in the InfoSec community, then like that shows it.
Joshua,
Um,
were you in the room when we went over the template resume?
No, I did not.
Okay, it's in
I
the
see it in the Discord.
yeah,
Okay.
so it's in the Discord, and we said some very specific things about what constitutes a powerful summary. So definitely go in there and check that out.
And then this is going to be up on YouTube in case any of you want to go see it again later. I'm not taking it down, so it'll be up there or on LinkedIn. Again, similar points. This is your current job, so having it up there makes sense to me. Teaching classes at 24. Yes, it's what you do. How does that make you a good SOC lead? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we want to get to the point. Right? It's not bad. It's a good thing that you're doing, but in your resume, you want to get to the point of like, how does this make you a good SOC lead? If you are teaching new people how to find IOCs and how to put into practice playbooks, and you've been able to influence however many people that you've been doing this for, like, okay, a semester, like class of students in that, I feel like that's a good bullet. And truth be told, being a job that you've been in for like 5 months now, like one solid bullet on that or two isn't bad. It's an additional thing that you're doing. So yeah, let's give it good bullets, but we don't need to spend you don't need to go into, again, all the details of what the role is. All right. And that applies to everyone. It's what gets you that next job. Okay. Tuning automation rules that's great. So then you guys were able to stop or decrease clicks or decrease what did it do? Yeah. How is that helpful? Like, I can imagine how it's helpful, but how it was helpful. All right. And that can apply to the rest of them as well. So lead planning and deployment for SEAM pilot program that led to what? Like, that's not bad. What happened? So then the SEAM up and EDR on how many endpoints, and then decreased malicious traffic by what number? Or now have transparency on like malicious traffic that wasn't there before. I feel like that's more valuable. It's gonna be a lot the same. I got no problems with this. I do, as a curious person, then wonder what your undergrad's in, knowing they have a master's, but that's just me. I don't know that that's valuable. My undergrad's in a bachelor's of science in humanities, so like, it doesn't really matter.
Mine's the same, so that's why.
But I put it in there just in case it asks if I needed to have a bachelor's. That's just me. Cool. Security community highlights. This could be a useful place to then your talks on white papers. I might build this out more. Like, I might put way more information. You could probably turn one bullet into several bullets.
I put it in reverse chronological order too.
Yeah.
Put your more recent up top.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
All right. Cool. And if it is talks, have talks. If it's volunteer, I'd put volunteer. So you built the honeypot lab.
No, I assisted with that.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Still, volunteer stuff is what I might call that. I got no problems with this. Reverse chronological order, then. Just makes it a little easier to read. Because it goes, yeah, you get it. Okay. Sweet. I want to, at least today, even if we don't do you guys want to come back tomorrow to do mock interviews?
There's nothing after.
All right, I got nothing else going on.
I can till the top of the hour.
Okay, then let's knock out the rest of these for y'all who are here. Veronica, is it?
Here, what was the link to the resume that you guys showed
Did-
at the beginning?
Did you guys send yours
It's
in?
inside the Discord channel.
I can't find it. What's
Are you in the Discord channel for?
resume writing? Sent you a message in it.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me look.
She said hers is the best.
No, mine's horrible. I just started, let me just give you a little history of law enforcement. My resume is like, obviously, it's all here. So I'm trying to
Okay.
develop my resume, and I started just last night. So
Cool.
this guy's convinced me to give it to me. So.
I just wanted to give people who've made it out here a chance to like get yours specifically reviewed. Sorry for those of you who are virtual who've sent yours in that we haven't hit. I took longer on it than I wanted to. Tomorrow, if you guys do you want to come back and have your resumes looked at? I don't know. We might do the same spiel we did today, and then we didn't really get into the mock interviews, which is something that we wanted to spend a whole hour on. Sorry if you missed that. I'm gonna try to make sure that we go, and if you want to catch that on the back end at either coming or catch it on YouTube later, I'm fine with that. But technically, we are at the end of what's here for this time. So I'm going to end the stream. Sorry if I didn't get to your resume. And then around, I'm not doing anything else until 7 when I introduce people. So thank you all for tuning in. Join us again tomorrow for the same stream, as long as Neil doesn't hate me and lets me stream here. Otherwise, find me on LinkedIn. With that, you guys have a great rest of your day.